There's a type of business happening all around you every single day that almost nobody talks about directly. It's not because it's hidden and it's not because it's complicated, but it's because it operates quietly inside systems that already exist. It doesn't rely on social media trends. It doesn't depend on attention. It doesn't need any hype at all. It earns money by sitting in the path of capital that's already moving. That business is called affiliate funding. And once you understand it, you start noticing how many people are already participating in it without ever calling it that. But before we get into that, if you like learning about businesses most people overlook, comment, like, and subscribe for more free game that pays. Now let's slow this down and really explain what's going on here. So most businesses, they want and they crave visibility. All right. So businesses, they run ads, they chase clicks, they fight for attention. Affiliate funding doesn't need any of that. It exists behind the scenes inside finance and inside of lending. Banks don't necessarily want eyeballs. Lenders don't want hype. They want qualified people sent to them to fund. So instead of advertising to everyone, they quietly pay anyone who can bring clean deal flow to them. That's why this business model rarely gets talked about. It's not built for consumers. It's built for systems, and systems reward positioning, not noise. So let's talk about what affiliate funding actually looks like. So at its core, affiliate funding is very, very simple, okay? Someone needs capital, someone else provides capital. You're in the middle and you introduce the two. You're not lending, you're not approving, you're not negotiating terms. You're creating alignment. And when funding happens, you earn a commission based on how much money is moved. This requires no inventory from you. This requires no fulfillment from you. This requires no long-term customer management or service, just value created through connections. And in this game, connections get you paid. It's funny because ever since I personally got into affiliate funding and in this industry, every single conversation that I have, to me, is a payout. And those payouts tend to be pretty large. Funding commissions feel big because the transactions are big, right? What we're doing is big. When a lender deploys $50,000 or $100,000 or more, paying a small percentage for a clean referral is actually very efficient for them. It's cheaper than ads, it's cheaper than hiring sales team, it's cheaper than, chasing bad leads. So when you see payouts in the thousands, it's not a bonus. It's basically a business expense on their end. You're being paid because you reduced friction in a very high value transaction. So if you're listening to this and realizing you may already know people who need funding, or this is something that you feel like would work for you, that's exactly why I built the Automotion Broker Society on Skool. So inside the Skool community, you're not just getting a link and you're not doing this alone, right? You're getting access to one of the highest producing financial and funding service teams in the United States today. We have funded tens of millions of dollars for business owners and investors all over the US, and we have active relationships with hundreds of lenders across the country. So when you refer someone, you're plugging them into a real team that does this thing every single day. No theory, no guesswork, just real approvals and real funding. And we have the results and reviews to back that up. So if you want to be positioned next to a real infrastructure instead of trying to figure this out on your own, go ahead and click the link in the description, join the Skool community, and we would love to work with you and get you paid fast. So let's go ahead and talk about why this model scales pretty quietly and efficiently. So this is where affiliate funding separates itself from most other businesses. Most businesses scale by getting louder. What does that mean? Well, in order to scale, you need more ads, you need more content, you need more effort. The average business, you need to put in more in order to get more. But affiliate funding scales in a different way. Affiliate funding scales by spreading sideways through relationships. So you're not the bottleneck. You don't fulfill a service. You don't deliver a product. You don't manage outcomes. And because you don't have to do all those things, that means that you can add volume without adding stress. And that right there is more than other business models can set. And one great way to scale this thing is partnerships. And I want to take a second to talk about partnerships because partnerships is where real scale happens. So let's give you an example, right? Let's say you started your affiliate funding journey and you understood the power of it. So you're looking to partner with people that need funding. So what you go ahead and do is you talk to a service provider, you talk to a coach, or you talk to someone that does consulting. The thing with service providers is they talk to business owners every single day. That's part of their business. That's what they do for a living. Same goes for marketing agencies. Same goes for consultants, coaches, accountants. Every single one of these service providers not only talk to business owners every single day, their clients desperately need funding. So instead of all those conversations ending at, I need capital, you now become the solution. You give them a funding path. They refer clients through you. Everyone wins. The client gets funded, you get paid, and you now built a bridge with said business owner. You didn't market harder, you didn't spend money on ads, but you partnered smarter. Another way that people, and myself as well, tend to scale this business model is from community and networks and tapping into those. Every single community out there has some type of financial friction, okay? This could be masterminds, this could be paid groups, this could be industry associations. When funding becomes a resource inside those spaces, deal flow becomes very, very consistent because they need this, right? And you don't chase individuals, you are able to position yourself inside an ecosystem. One relationship can turn into dozens of referrals, and that's what we call leverage. Another way that successful affiliate funders scale is through content creators and content creation. The thing with creators is they already have trust, right? So when their audience needs funding, they don't necessarily need to sell it, and that's where you come in. They just need a direction. So affiliate funding is going to let creators monetize volume without changing their content, and you become the back end for that. They remain the voice of their content, but you now become the main piece in the fulfiller to their clients and to their audience's needs. That pays every single deal that you close. So the reason partnerships compound so well is because every partnership becomes a permanent lane of deal flow, right? You don't reset every single month. You don't start at zero every single month. You build layers to this thing, and each layer feeds the next one. That's why this business grows quietly, but very consistently. It's not because it's flashy, but because it's embedded into a system. Another thing about affiliate funding is it doesn't reward persuasion. It's all about awareness. It's all about in your day-to-day being aware of who needs capital, being aware of where conversations that you have stall. And once you start to develop this awareness in your everyday life and in your business, and when you're talking to other business owners, or when you're talking to clients or customers, or when you're talking to everyday people around you, income, the lack of funding, and the lack of financial resources really starts to appear inside conversations that you were already having. And when you can now be a solution for all those conversations, when you can now be a path forward to all of these financial struggles, then the business model of affiliate funding scales itself. I always like to say affiliate funding isn't hidden, it's just overlooked. And that's why I love it so much. The crazy thing about this is I don't see many people doing this at all because many people don't know how, and many people don't have the resources and the connections as well as the leverage in order to do this at scale and to do it properly. So that's why it's overlooked. It really exists in conversations and partnerships. And conversations and partnerships are free. So once you understand that, you can really understand the power of affiliate funding. And you can understand that making a lot of money monthly, yearly, increasing your income, doubling your revenue, it's not always tied to working harder. What it's really tied to is standing in the right place with the right relationships. And that's the business model that nobody talks about. Now you know why.